Clara had always found solace in the world of antiques. Each piece she collected whispered secrets of the past, offering a comforting escape from her otherwise solitary life. As a child, she would spend hours exploring her grandmother's attic, fascinated by the dusty trinkets and forgotten relics that held stories waiting to be discovered. Now, in her mid-30s, that passion had blossomed into a full-fledged hobby. Her modest apartment was adorned with various artifacts. A delicate porcelain vase from the 1800s here, a vintage gramophone there, but it was the mirrors that intrigued her the most. To Clara, mirrors were not merely reflective surfaces. They were portals to different eras, capturing moments that had long since faded. Yet, despite her growing collection, a sense of loneliness lingered in her heart. Friends had drifted away, relationships had faltered, and she often found herself yearning for deeper connections. One rainy afternoon, as she wandered through a quaint antique shop nestled in a narrow alley, Clara felt a familiar thrill coursing through her veins. The shop was filled with forgotten treasures, each calling out to her in its own way. It was there she first laid eyes on the mirror, a stunning piece with an ornate frame that seemed to shimmer under the soft light. Though slightly cracked and aged, it radiated an undeniable allure. Clara felt an inexplicable pull toward it, as if the mirror itself recognized her solitude and was inviting her to step closer to its enigmatic depths. In that moment, she knew she had to take it home. As Clara stepped into the antique shop, the sound of the rain drumming against the window faded into a distant hum. The air was thick with the scent of old wood and aged leather, mingling with a hint of dust that danced in the shafts of light streaming through the stained glass windows. Each item displayed was wrapped in a veil of mystery, as if waiting for someone to uncover its story. The shop itself was dimly lit, with narrow aisles that twisted and turned like a labyrinth filled with forgotten treasures. Shelves creaked under the weight of eclectic artifacts, faded photographs, tarnished silverware, and dusty books whose pages had yellowed with time. Clara felt a shiver run down her spine, not from fear but from a thrill that coursed through her veins. This place held secrets long neglected. Behind the counter stood Mr. Thorne, the shop's owner, an elderly man with wild silver hair and piercing blue eyes that seemed to gleam with a knowing glint. He had an aura about him that was both peculiar and charming. His grin revealed a warmth hidden beneath layers of eccentricity. Clara often sensed that he knew more than he let on, especially about the objects surrounding them. "Every piece has its tale, my dear," he would say, his voice rich and melodic, inviting further inquiry. As she browsed through the items, Clara could feel his gaze follow her, an unsettling comfort that added to the shop's otherworldly ambience. It was as if Mr. Thorne himself was keeping watch over his collection, ensuring that no story remained untold. And yet, something within her suggested that his connection to certain artifacts ran deeper than mere ownership, a flicker of mystery tied intricately to the allure of the mirror that awaited her discovery. As Clara navigated through the labyrinthine aisles of the antique shop, she was suddenly drawn to a large mirror hanging near the back wall. It stood majestically against the dimly lit backdrop, its ornate frame carved with swirling patterns that seemed to dance along the edges. The intricate designs showcased a blend of florals and mythical creatures, and as she stepped closer, she could almost feel them alive, whispering secrets of bygone eras. The mirror's surface, while slightly tarnished with age, reflected a soft glow that seemed to pulse with warmth, captivating her gaze. Clara felt an unusual energy radiating from it, a magnetic pull that resonated deep within her. It was as if the mirror were beckoning her, inviting her to step into its depths and uncover whatever mysteries lay hidden beyond its glassy facade. Taking a deep breath, she reached out to trace her fingers along the frame, feeling the coolness of the wood and the smoothness of the carvings under her touch. With each gentle caress, she envisioned glimpses of lives lived and emotions felt by those who had once gazed into it. Clara imagined herself in different epochs, dressed in elegant gowns at grand balls or sharing intimate moments with dear friends in candlelit rooms. A shiver of excitement coursed through her, and she knew then that this mirror was more than just an artifact. It was a keeper of stories longing to be told. Overwhelmed by her fascinations and drawn by an urgency she couldn't explain, Clara felt a determination to call it her own. Clara could hardly contain her excitement as she completed the purchase of the mirror, feeling a sense of triumph wash over her. Mr. Thorne wrapped it carefully in soft fabric, his eyes glinting with an enigmatic knowledge that both intrigued and unsettled her. As he handed her the package, he leaned in closer, lowering his voice to a conspiratorial whisper. "Just remember, my dear, it has a watchful nature," he cautioned, a hint of seriousness underlying his otherwise whimsical demeanor. Dismissive of his cryptic warning, Clara smiled politely but felt a flutter of unease in her stomach. She was eager to bring the mirror home, convinced it would only enhance the charm of her apartment. Once inside her cozy bedroom, she envisioned how beautifully it would hang above her bed, reflecting the soft glow of the bedside lamp and creating an inviting atmosphere. After clearing away a small painting from the wall, Clara carefully lifted the mirror into place. It felt substantial yet delicate in her hands as she secured it with care. The moment it was hung, an almost palpable energy filled the room, a sensation that sent tingles up her spine. She stood back to admire her work and couldn't help but notice how its ornate frame seemed to complement the room's decor perfectly. As night fell and shadows danced around her space, Clara snuggled into bed with a book in hand. Yet even as she read, she couldn't shake off the feeling that the mirror was observing her every move, a silent guardian holding secrets just beyond its surface. Despite this lingering thought, she simply smiled to herself. After all, every antique had its history, and perhaps this one was simply waiting for her to discover its story. The first night after bringing the mirror home, Clara climbed into bed feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension. As she turned off the lamp, the room was cast in a soft, almost ethereal glow from the mirror's reflective surface. She nestled under her blankets, determined to ignore the nagging feeling that she was being watched. Yet, as her eyelids grew heavy, an unsettling sensation washed over her, a prickling awareness that something was not quite right. Before long, Clara slipped into a restless sleep, her dreams transforming into vivid landscapes filled with shadows and whispers. Figures danced just out of sight, their faces obscured but their intentions palpable, evoking feelings of both familiarity and dread. Night after night, these dreams became more intense. She would awaken in cold sweats, heart racing as if escaping from an unseen pursuer. The mirror loomed in her mind like a silent witness to her turmoil. Somewhere between dreaming and waking, she began to sense that the mirror was not merely reflecting her physical self, but somehow absorbing her thoughts and fears. It felt alive, a portal not just to other times but to other realms entirely. Each morning brought a sense of fatigue lingering beneath her skin, as if she hadn't fully returned from these unsettling journeys. With each passing night spent beneath its gaze, Clara found herself increasingly entranced yet terrified by this newfound connection. The boundaries between reality and dream blurred until it became impossible to tell where one ended and the other began. She felt tethered to something ancient and unknowable hovering just beyond her reach. As the nights passed, Clara noticed a disturbing pattern in her dreams. Each evening unfolded like a mysterious narrative, drawing her deeper into unsettling realms where shadowy figures seemed to guide her through scenes that felt both foreign and eerily familiar. She would find herself wandering through dimly lit streets, enveloped by an uncanny fog that obscured her surroundings. The whispers of unseen voices echoed around her, urging her to follow. In one particularly vivid dream, Clara stood at the edge of a grand ballroom filled with elegantly dressed guests, their faces obscured in darkness. They danced gracefully, but Clara felt an overwhelming sense of dread as if she was not meant to be there. When she attempted to join them, the music faded and the dancers turned toward her, their eyes glinting with an unsettling knowledge that sent chills down her spine. Just as she tried to escape, she awoke gasping for breath, heart racing as shadows flickered at the edges of her consciousness. Each morning brought new layers of fatigue. Sleep had become a battleground where dreams turned hostile. The mirror loomed in her thoughts during these moments of wakefulness. Its reflective surface now felt like a portal to these haunting narratives rather than a simple object of beauty. Clara began to wonder if the mirror was drawing out fragments of her own fears and insecurities, or perhaps connecting her to stories trapped within its frame. Despite the terror that accompanied these nocturnal journeys, Clara felt an undeniable compulsion to explore further. What truths lay hidden within these shadowy encounters? With each restless night, she found herself on the precipice of discovery, aware that something significant awaited her just beyond the veil of sleep. Driven by the unrelenting pull of her dreams, Clara began to research the history of the mirror. Each day after work, she would wander into dusty libraries and scrawl notes from ancient books, piecing together its origins like a puzzle. Who had crafted it? What tales had unfolded in front of its reflective surface? The more she learned, the more questions arose, igniting a fire of curiosity within her. One evening, she stumbled upon a local legend that spoke of enchanted mirrors capable of revealing lost memories or hidden truths, a revelation that both thrilled and terrified her. Clara found herself captivated by the stories of those who had gazed into such mirrors, many claiming to have experienced profound transformations or even encounters with spirits from their past. She was fascinated by the idea that the mirror could be a conduit for something greater, a link to forgotten lives and untold stories. As she delved deeper into her research, Clara felt a burgeoning sense of empowerment. The mirror, once just an object reflecting her image, was now entwined with her quest for understanding. It seemed to echo her own desires for connection and self-discovery. With every detail unearthed, she also confronted her own fears, growing bolder in her determination to unravel the threads binding her to this mysterious artifact. Night after night, as the shadows whispered their secrets through the veil of sleep, Clara transformed from a passive dreamer into an active seeker, embracing the unknown possibilities that awaited her beyond the glass. She resolved to face whatever truths lay hidden in its depths, believing that understanding the mirror's legacy would somehow illuminate her own path forward. Clara's research led her to a collection of local folklore, rich with tales about magical mirrors that were said to capture souls and reflect visions from the past. One particular legend spoke of a mirror hidden in an ancient estate. It was rumored to possess the power to ensnare the essence of those who gazed into it for too long, trapping their spirits forever within its depths. Hearing these stories ignited a mixture of intrigue and dread within Clara, shocking her with the possibility that her beautiful mirror could hold such dark capabilities. As she delved deeper into these legends, she learned that many claimed such mirrors could also project glimpses of significant moments, past events from their own lives or perhaps even experiences of those who had come before them. The allure of seeing forgotten memories began to stir a longing in Clara's heart. She imagined standing before the mirror, witnessing fragments of her own history playing out like scenes in a film. Yet, fear gnawed at her. What if those projections came with a cost? What if she couldn't distinguish truth from illusion? The knowledge weighed heavily on her as she continued to experience vivid dreams. Shadows enveloped her more deeply each night as if they were luring her into their stories. Clara began to question whether the mirror was merely a reflection of her inner battles, or if it truly held something otherworldly, a conduit between herself and the eerie tales spun from the legends surrounding it. Haunted by these thoughts, Clara found herself both eager and terrified to confront whatever dark secrets lay waiting for her in the depths of the mirror. With each passing moment, she felt closer to unveiling truths that could change everything she believed about herself and the world around her. One afternoon, Clara met up with her old friend Sarah for coffee, hoping to escape the mounting weight of her thoughts. As they settled into a cozy corner of the cafe, Clara noticed Sarah's concerned gaze lingering on her. "You look different, Clara," Sarah remarked gently, taking a sip of her cappuccino. "Is everything okay?" Clara hesitated, unsure of how to convey the turmoil swirling within her. "I've just been busy with work," she replied, forcing a smile that felt more like a mask than a reflection of her true feelings. But as their conversation unfolded, Sarah's piercing intuition cut through Clara's facade. "You know you can tell me anything," Sarah urged, her expression softening. "It's just that I've noticed you seem a bit lost lately. Is it that mirror you bought?" Sounds intriguing but also kind of unsettling. The mention of the mirror sent a shiver down Clara's spine. Was it so obvious that the object had begun to consume her thoughts? As she explained the strange dreams and the local legends she had uncovered, Sarah listened intently, concern etched on her face. "Clara, maybe it's time to think about getting rid of it," she suggested cautiously. "It sounds like it's affecting you more than you realize. Sometimes objects can hold too much energy or history that we're not prepared to handle." Clara felt a pang of resistance at the suggestion. Part of her yearned to confront whatever lay behind the mirror's mysteries. Yet another part feared it might consume her entirely. Torn between curiosity and caution, she couldn't shake off the feeling that perhaps Sarah's words were rooted in wisdom, warnings from someone who cared about her well-being. The balance between seeking truth and protecting herself had never felt so precarious. On a particularly restless night, Clara felt an inexplicable urge to confront the mirror directly. She had been tossing and turning, her thoughts swirling with memories she had long buried. With a deep breath, she slid out of bed and approached the mirror, its surface glinting under the moonlight that peeked through her window. The air felt thick with anticipation as she stood before it, heart pounding in her chest. As Clara gazed into the reflective glass, the familiar sensation of being watched washed over her. Gradually, the surface began to shimmer and shift, revealing an apparition that took shape from the depths of her memories. Her younger self, standing in a sunlit garden, laughter spilling from her lips. But there was something off about this ghostly image. It was tinged with sadness that Clara hadn't recognized before. The vision shifted again, interlacing scenes of joy with moments of loss. Her childhood home felt alive again, echoing the voices of loved ones now gone. A wave of emotions crashed over her as she remembered the weight of grief that had shadowed those days. Tears filled Clara's eyes as she watched her younger self react to fleeting instances of joy, friends gathered around a birthday cake, her mother's gentle smile, but also moments of loneliness that had started to form in those very years. Suddenly, the mirror's energy surged, pulling Clara closer as if urging her to embrace these long-forgotten feelings. It became clear that this confrontation was not merely about viewing the past but acknowledging it. As she faced these images, Clara realized that she needed to reconcile with her history rather than bury it further. The mirror had indeed become a vital conduit for confronting the pain she had tucked away for far too long. A gateway not just to lost memories but to healing as well. As Clara faced the mirror once more, the atmosphere in her room grew electrically charged, pulsating with emotions long held at bay. This was not just a reflection of her past. It had become a living entity, mirroring her deepest fears about intimacy and loss. The haunting visage of her younger self hovered within the glass, embodying the joy she once felt and the innocence she had lost. Clara's heart raced as she confronted this apparition, ready to either embrace or reject this connection that tempted her with revelations. "What do you want from me?" she whispered to the shimmering surface, uncertain if she sought answers or merely reprisal. The mirror seemed to respond, drawing her nearer, urging her to step into its depths and face the heartache that had colored her existence for too long. In that moment, memories flooded back, laughter shared with friends who drifted away, a mother's unconditional love now absent, and the quiet silences that had taken the place of joy in her life. Each fleeting image struck like an arrow aimed at her heart, igniting an overwhelming wave of feeling, grief mixed with longing for reconnection. Clara was torn. Embracing this raw connection meant allowing herself to feel exposed and vulnerable again. What if these emotions overwhelmed her once more? Yet beneath the fear lay an urgent necessity for healing, a critical chance to reclaim pieces of herself she had buried. With rising determination, Clara took a step closer to the mirror. She understood now that in confronting these shadows of intimacy and loss, she could sculpt a new narrative from her history, ready to face whatever emerged from those depths, regardless of danger or pain. She decided that healing required both acceptance and courage, and it began here, in this haunted space before her magical mirror. In the stillness of her room, Clara stood before the mirror, grappling with her choice. The reflection showed not just her image but the entirety of her journey, a tapestry woven with threads of joy, loss, and unresolved pain. The energy emanating from the glass felt palpable, urging her to confront the truths she had long avoided. She took a deep breath, her heart steadying as determination replaced fear. "Do I want to know the truth?" she asked herself aloud, the question echoing in the silence. Clara considered the legends she had uncovered, mirrors that could capture souls and reveal hidden truths. She realized that the power of the mirror lay not in its ability to ensnare but in its potential to liberate her from the shackles of her past. With growing conviction, Clara reached out, placing her trembling hand against the cool surface. "I embrace you," she declared, willing herself to accept everything that lay beyond the glass. As she did, visions flooded her mind. Memories of laughter intertwined with moments of solitude, an understanding that life was a blend of both. The sadness she'd once feared now felt like an integral part of her story. Yet a thought flickered through her. What if she chose to destroy it instead? In that moment of contemplation, she understood that destroying the mirror would not erase her past. Instead, it would deny her the chance for growth and healing. With a newfound sense of empowerment, Clara made her choice. She would keep the mirror as a reminder of her journey and a tool for transformation. Clara stepped back, feeling the weight lift from her shoulders. The mirror was no longer just an object. It had become a symbol of her strength and resilience, a pathway to self-discovery, where embracing the past could lead to a brighter future. In the weeks that followed, Clara found herself transformed. Her perspective on life remarkably shifted. The haunting experiences connected to the mirror sparked an evolution within her, unveiling a newfound empowerment and a sense of clarity she hadn't experienced before. No longer merely an obsessive collector of antiques, Clara realized that each piece now held deeper significance than mere decoration. They were extensions of her own journey, reflections of her past intertwined with her present. Her mornings started to feel different as she crafted a routine informed by the lessons gleaned from the mirror's revelations. She began exploring new antique shops not just in search of items to possess, but as a means to understand the stories behind them, each with its own narrative echoing through time. This shift changed how she engaged with people, sparking conversations with shopkeepers and fellow collectors about their own histories and insights. Clara felt less alone, finding community among those who shared her appreciation for the past. Each story exchanged became a thread that connected her to others, filling the void that once felt insurmountable. As she listened to their tales, Clara discovered parallels with her own life, a tapestry rich in emotions similar to her newfound acceptance of sorrow and joy. In this journey of collection, she embraced vulnerability rather than shying away from it. Clara understood that by sharing her own story, the hardships intertwined with the beauty, she could foster connections that transcended mere nostalgia. Each day became an opportunity for growth as she wove together insights from both her past and present into something meaningful, showing her that healing is indeed an ongoing journey, one filled with both strength and light. With the transformative experiences behind her, Clara felt a pull to revisit the antique shop where it all began. She wandered through the familiar aisles, each moment filled with nostalgia and a hint of anticipation. The delicate aura of forgotten stories filled the air as she approached Mr. Thorne's counter, her heart racing slightly at the thought of their upcoming encounter. Mr. Thorne stood behind the counter, his knowing smile greeting her as she entered. "Ah, Clara," he said, his voice a melodic blend of warmth and mystery. "I see you've embraced your journey." Their conversation flowed effortlessly as Clara excitedly shared her revelations about the mirror, expressing gratitude for its role in her healing. Mr. Thorne listened intently, his eyes sparkling with a depth of understanding that hinted at secrets he had carried for years. "You've only begun to scratch the surface," he replied cryptically, gesturing toward a collection of artifacts nearby. "Every object holds its own story, its own energy. There are other mirrors, some benign, others not so much, that echo the truths you've uncovered." Clara's intrigue piqued at his words. "Are they all haunted?" she asked, half in jest but fully captivated by the possibility. "Haunted is just one way to describe them," he replied thoughtfully. "Or perhaps they are simply vessels that reflect what we're ready to confront." As she left the shop that day, Clara felt a rush of excitement mingled with apprehension. The world of antiques had opened up to her like never before, filled with endless possibilities. She walked among stories waiting to be discovered, each whispering an invitation to explore further. With questions lingering on her mind about what lay ahead, both within those haunted artifacts and within her own journey, Clara stepped into the light outside, ready for whatever came next in this unfolding tale of self-discovery and connection.